Hello, everyone. Welcome to Rock Ridge Retreat Center. I'm so happy that you decided to join us tonight for this storytelling adventure. I want to start with the second scariest thing that has ever happened to me in my life. And it seems like for most of my pathway in this life, fear has been a big incentive. I don't know about you, but I have found that there's a lot of things that I'm afraid of, and some I didn't even know I was afraid of until they showed up in my life. What happened is I was reading in one of those magazines from California about an 8-day retreat in Northern California. And the name of the retreat was Pushing Through Your Fear and Your Limiting Beliefs. I thought, man, that's for me. I'm going to get rid of this fear. I'm not going to let it stop me. I'm not going to let it paralyze me. And I signed up for it. And it cost a lot of money for 8 days. And what I thought, my imagination said, okay, it's in a beautiful lodge in Northern California, so we'll probably sit around the fireplace in the evening, maybe have a little sip of that Northern California wine, and we'll share deeply about our secret-most fears and look meaningfully into each other's eyes, and then we'll pray, and then we'll all go home. That's what I thought. So I get there, the first thing they do is they load us all on a bus, and they take us out in the big middle of nowhere to a cave. And they tell us that what we're going to do is rappel 200 feet down into a dark cave. Now, do I look like somebody who does a lot of rappelling? Man, I couldn't believe I had done this to myself. And I'm not going to do this. No, there's no way in hell I'm doing this. And I'm just shaking now. And they put a little hard hat on my head, little gloves on my hands, and they're hooking me up in this harness thing. Snot's coming out my nose, man. I just lost all the spirituality I ever thought I had, man. I am out of here. I can't do this. I'm crying. I'm really having a fit about I cannot do this. I get dizzy on a step stool. I'm afraid I know. And they had assigned us a partner. Now, I didn't know any of these people. And they assigned me a partner, a young man, probably in his late 30s, and his job in the world was, he was in the Navy, and his job in the Navy was air, sea, rescue. He's walking around the back of the cave whistling. I just want to slap the snot out of him. In a loving, holy way, of course. Oh, my God, I'm terrified. And I'm telling the leader of the group, no, I'm not doing this. Oh, there's no way in hell I'm doing it. No, I'm not doing this. And he gets right in my face. He says, Edwene, this is the first event of 8 days, sugar. If you don't do this, you have to go home. And you will not get a refund. Well, then he had my attention. Oh, man. Scariest thing at that point in my life that I'd ever done. Have you ever gone rappelling? You kind of do it backwards, you know? And once you take that last foot off that ledge, honey, all your other options are gone. You're going down. And just as I step off, the leader says, now, if you do not move that rope yourself, Edwene, you're going to be hanging in space for the rest of your life. And I'm going, Jesus Christ, Jesus Christ, Jesus Christ. I get about halfway down, and my eyes have kind of adjusted to the darkness, and the people who have gone down before me are yelling up at me, Edwene, look around, it's beautiful. I'm going, Jesus Christ, Jesus. When I got to the bottom of that cave, I am telling you, I'm kissing the cave bottom, saying, oh, thank you, don't make me ever do this again. Oh. And the guy's trying to unhook me. He says, lady, are you all right? I said, I'm fine, just leave me alone. I could not believe I had done that. And I pray that I never, ever have to do that again. But one of the things I learned about me, and it's a very powerful thing to know about yourself, is if you and I were stuck on the top of a 20-story office building, that's what 200 feet is, you get 20 stories, and we had the right equipment, I could get us down. It wouldn't be pretty, but I could get us down. So I started off my study of trying to make my life work when I was in my late 20s. I was living in an East Texas town, working 2 jobs, 16 hours a day, single mom, living in a 1-bedroom apartment. And we were poor. I mean, we were so poor. We both had holes in our shoes, my daughter and I. And there was never enough money for anything that was fun. And I was depressed I was in despair because this isn't how my life was supposed to turn out. And so I didn't have any money to go buy books, but I knew I had to learn something. So I would go to the library and I would check out all these self-help books, Maxwell Maltz and Norman Vincent Peale. And they had a book called Think and Grow Rich. Many of you are familiar with that, I'm sure, by Napoleon Hill. Well, there's a line in that book. It goes like this. Directed faith makes every thought crackle with power. Well, when I read that, I thought, that reminds me of something that happened to me when I was a little girl. When I was about 12 years old, and my little brother, who was about 6, he came into my bedroom one November, just about this time of year, and he said to me, Edwene, guess what I'm going to get for Christmas? Well, you know how you care about your little brother when you're 12 years old. I said, what? He said, I'm going to get a pony. I said, sure you are. I've wanted a pony all my life. I never got a pony. What makes you think you're going to get a pony? He said, Santa Claus is going to bring me one. Well, in my infinite wisdom, at age 12, I decided to enlighten him. And I proceeded to tell him how the presents got under the trees and who ate the cookies and drank the milk and who wrapped the presents. And I said, and that's why you're not getting a pony for Christmas. Well, this little kid drew himself up, put his hands on his hips, looked me straight in the eye, and he said, that's what you think. And he stormed out of the room. Well, his confidence shook me a little bit, so I went to my mother. I said, Mother, are you getting him a pony for Christmas? And she said, no, honey, he's just playing. Don't bother him. Let him play. You mind your own business. So immediately I felt better. He wasn't going to get one. But my brother lived in a world where he was going to get a pony for Christmas. He got him a little stick horse. He's riding around the house. Found an old wash tub out in the garage. He was going to put the water in for his little pony. Found an old army blanket of my dad's. That was going to be his pony blanket. Dug around the bathroom, found an old hairbrush. He was going to use that to brush the mane and tail. As I watched him, I thought, maybe he knows something I don't know. So I went to my father, and I said, listen, tell me the truth. Are you getting him a pony for Christmas or what? And he said, no, honey, we're not getting him a pony. Leave him alone. Tend to your own business. He's just having fun. Just let him alone. So again, I felt better. But then I began to think about how disappointed he was going to be on Christmas. And so I began to suggest some other things. How about a train set, or some Tinker toys? He said, no, Edwene, I'm getting a pony. Well, as it happened, about 2 weeks before Christmas, my dad was invited to go on a hunting trip down in South Texas, and with some old friends who had a big ranch. And so he got up before God and everybody went out in the dark the way hunters do, and went down to this little ranch where they were having the deer hunt. And as they finished their coffee in the kitchen, they were walking out past the stables to go on their hunting gig, whatever that looks like. And they noticed that this mare was in the process of giving birth to a little tiny Palomino colt. And so these two men stopped in this early morning light and watched this precious birthing process. And as they were sitting there, my dad's friend put his arm around my dad's shoulder and says, Ed, you've been such a good friend to me all these years. Could I give this little pony to your son for Christmas? Oh, my God. My dad was like a kid himself. They didn't go hunting. He got in the car, drove all the way back home, picked up Mom and me and my little brother, and we went back to see that little pony. Have you ever seen one when it's first born, all spindly leg, can't find his legs? Oh, I wish you could have seen my brother's face when he saw that little colt. And I wish you could have seen mine. Oh, my God. And the rancher, he was a very sensitive and understanding man. He could see something was going on inside of me. And he came over and put his arm around my shoulder. He says, hey, honey, I wanted your little brother to have the colt, but I wanted you to have the mare. Oh, that touched me so deeply. I got what directed faith can do. Directed faith. My brother never varied, never wavered from his desire to have that beautiful little pony, and he got it. It's a powerful thing when we direct our faith. So I decided I would do that in my adulthood, reading, Think, and Grow Rich, and by the grace of God, somehow I found myself a teacher, and I wanted somebody to teach me how to set goals. So she gave me the task of setting a goal, something that I knew I couldn't do unless I had help from someplace else. So I decided, I'm living in East Texas now, what I wanted to do is go on a vacation to Mexico City. I love Mexico. I love the music. I love to practice my Spanish. I wanted to go down and see the paintings of Diego Rivera. I wanted to have some tacos and hear the mariachi music. And so I set my goal. I'm going to go to Mexico City on my vacation. She said, set a date. So I put a date tentatively. And then she says, now you go do something out there first step for the trip. What would you do? So I didn't know any better. I went down and made my reservations. I didn't have to pay anything at that time. You could just make your reservations. So I made them for about 6 months in advance, thinking somehow, maybe, I could figure out how to pay for it. So I got my reservations, and every week I'm thinking about going to Mexico City, and I'm practicing with my castanets, and, nothing's happening. And I go to my teacher and I said, what's going on here? I made my reservations and nothing's happening here. And she said, Edwene, the problem, honey, is that you're not feeling rich. I said, look at my checkbook. How can you feel rich when your balance is zero or minus zero, She said, okay, here's a task. She said, I want you to go out there in your world and buy something that makes you feel rich. At the level that you can spend. Please hear that part. Go out and buy something for yourself that makes you feel rich. Because you have to feel rich before you can experience being rich. Oh, I didn't know how to do that. But I had my grocery list, and I was the kind of shopper that I had a list for the week. Didn't buy anything except that was on that list. That's it. So I go to the grocery store, and I pass by the gourmet section. In the gourmet section, they have these beautiful little bottles of olives that have almonds in them. And I picked those up and looked at them. Oh, my God. I just knew that's what rich people ate. Oh, my God. But they were $1.29. Put them back. Went over and got all my other little stuff. Came back and looked at them again. And, So I bought them. And I felt rich, sort of. And so I got home, put the groceries away. I called my girlfriend, Lana. Now, Lana lived in an apartment complex. I had a swimming pool there. So I said, Lana, look. I've bought these olives that have almonds in them. I know you have some wine in your fridge. Pull out your wine glasses. I'm coming over. We're going to sit by your pool. We're going to drink that wine and eat these olives, and we're going to pretend like we're in Mexico City. She said, what? But she loved me, so she went along with me. So we're out there, and we're drinking wine and saying, now tomorrow we'll go see the pyramids and drink wine and eat these little olives that were so good. And if the truth is told, we probably got a little sloshed, but we had a wonderful time. We had so much fun that Lana decided to go to Mexico City with me. So 2 or 3 days later, she called me very excited. Edwene, guess what? She said, my mother bought my ticket. Well, I'm the one doing all the visualization and all the affirmations. So I said, well, that's just wonderful. So what am I going to do? Well, time passed, and finally, the travel agent called me. And she said, Edwene, if you don't come pick up this ticket, honey, I'm going to have to let it go. I said, okay, I'll be right there. I didn't have a clue what I was going to do. But I was going to take this all the way to the end. It's going to work or it's not going to work. But I'm going to find out right here and right now. So on the way to the travel agent, I got the idea to go by and see my mother. And so I go in and I say, Mother, You know about my trip to Mexico City that I'm planning? Guess what? Lana's going with me, and her mother bought her ticket. Isn't that wonderful? She said, yes, it is. What are you going to do? I don't know. So I go back to get in my car. I'm kicking rocks, walking out her driveway. She calls out the front door, honey, before you leave, would you bring in the mail for me? So I walk out her long driveway, get the mail, and I'm being nosy, seeing who she's hearing from. And I never got mail at my mother's house, ever. This day, there was a letter for me. Didn't recognize the name or return address. I opened it up. And what it was a letter from a woman that I had rented an apartment with when we were right out of college. And she and I furnished that apartment with early Salvation Army type furniture. And we struggled and scrimped to do that. And this letter was from her. She's, Dear Edwene, I don't know where in the world you are these days, but I found your mom and dad's name in the Houston directory. So, you remember all that furniture we bought years ago? Well, I got married and we have a new home and I sold all that stuff. And would you believe that a couple of those pieces turned out to be kind of valuable? So here's half of what I got when I sold that furniture. And folks, that check was exactly what it cost me for the airline ticket. Yay, God. Thank you, God. So I continued on my pathway using my faith and had a lot of good demonstrations. And there came a time where I decided that I would go to ministerial school and become a minister. So at ministerial school, the one I went to, every Monday morning we played church. And so somebody would give the sermon and somebody would do the bulletin and someone would arrange the music. And so just to give us confidence and experience in building a church service. So we all look forward to the time when we would give a sermon, you know, and it was on the calendar, and I'm a compulsive preparer, you know, and I'm looking with my date, and I'm getting note cards, but what I'm gonna do is give the complete delineation of the divine feminine principle in the Old and New Testament in 15 minutes, okay? And I have got documented note cards that are so powerful. This is going to change the history of the world. This is so good. I am so excited. And so the day came, and I am so ready. They're just going to love this, I can tell. And the head of the departments are all there, and the president of the school is there. And I get up, and I start giving this little talk and reading off the note cards. And I'm so proud of my scholarship, and I finally look up, and everybody in the room is going. The guy who's in charge of whether or not I get ordained is. I'm thinking, oh my God, I can't. So I got off the stage as quickly as I could, and I'm crying now. And I go home, I'm driving home, and I'm saying, God, I can't be doing this. I can't be putting people to sleep. I know I have a good message. Please don't let me do this. Whatever it takes, please, if I have to fall off the stage and bust my butt, please don't let me do this again. So I looked at the calendar of the speeches, and I looked when my next one was. And so I was preparing again, starting 3 months ahead of time, preparing a speech that was going to be so powerful, looking at all sorts of, data and all sorts of documentation for it. I forgot even what the topic was going to be, but I know it was good, And so the day came, and I'm ready now. I'm sitting ready to get up and walk to the stage, and I'm saying, God, I just want to remind you, you can't let me be putting these people to sleep now. And the little voice, that inner voice that we all had, that little voice, it says, okay, Edwene, leave all your note cards on the table. What? And then I start shaking. And I walk to the stage, and no note cards. And from that chair to the podium, I could not have told you my name. I forgot my topic. I did not know what I was going to talk about. I get up to the podium, and I can't think of a single thing to say. I am just struck dumb. And so finally, I remember to say to myself, this is my little prayer, okay, Holy Spirit, you're on. And I just started talking. And I started talking. I got looser and stopped shaking. I just kept talking. I don't know what I said. But when I got through, I got a standing ovation, and we didn't do that for each other. And I don't have a clue. I wish I had taped that thing. It was probably fabulous. But I learned so much about how the ego always wants to look good. And when I let go of my ego, that's when you can really be good instead of just looking good. It's a very powerful experience for me. So after I was ordained, I was invited to several churches to try out to see if I was going to be the minister. And one of them I had had a dream about, that I was supposed to go to Knoxville, Tennessee. And I didn't want to go to Knoxville, Tennessee. I wanted to go to Detroit, where they were offering me a big salary and a Cadillac and a condo on the lake and a clothing allowance. And that's where I wanted to go. But I had this dream, you're going to Knoxville, Tennessee. So I go to try out, and there's about 12 people there for the church. 12 people. And they're going to offer me $600 a month. My dry cleaning bill's more than that. I mean, for God's sake, how will I live on that? So, but I love the people. They were lovely, lovely people. And they just touched my heart. They were so ambitious and so on purpose. And I really kind of wanted to go there. So they said, here, take our car and go drive up in the Smokies and spend the night up there on us and just get your guidance. And so I did that. I had a person who was traveling with me. And we're driving along. And my girlfriend said, well, are you going to go? And I said, I don't know. I need a sign. And she said, well, what kind of sign do you want? And I said, well, Moses had a burning bush. I want a burning bush. I'm just as good as Moses. Let's get a burning bush here. She laughed, and we're driving along. And all of a sudden, she pulled on the brakes and pulled over to the side. And there's a little sign on the side of the road that said, burning brush not permitted. I said, no, that's not good enough, God. Got to be a burning bush. So we drive along, and I said to her, wouldn't it be funny if we went around this mountain and there was a big billboard that said burning bush? And we went around that corner, and there was a big billboard that said Burning Bush Restaurant, Gatlinburg, Tennessee. So we had lunch, and I went to Knoxville. So while I was there, one of the most charming women there, at the time I was like in my 40s, and this older woman, she was about 70 or so, had a reputation for making beautiful quilts. And everybody just raved about her quilts. And so she came up to me one day at the church. She said, Edwene, I'm making you something for Christmas. You're going to love it. And I thought, oh, she's making me a quilt. I'm so excited. Oh, I can hardly wait. I said, oh, I can hardly wait. And every time she would come to church, she'd mention, oh, I'm almost through. It's beautiful. You're going to love it. I can't wait to give it to you. And so I'm excited. I can't believe I'm going to get a brand new, beautiful homemade quilt. So right before Christmas, I'm at home. She calls me. And she's, Edwene, my son is here with the pickup truck. Could we bring your present over to you? What in a pickup? Oh. I said, oh, sure, come on over. So here they come. And her son is holding this huge, probably 5 foot by 5 foot piece of plywood that I can see the back of it. And he turns it around, and it is a rooster made out of macaroni. I said, oh. You must have worked on that a long time. And the little red nail polish on the comb. Oh, my goodness. Oh, goodness gracious. Oh, my goodness. Thank you. So I learned how to be a good receiver. But, you know, I felt kind of selfish having that piece of work all to myself. So very shortly, I passed it on to the Goodwill, you know, so somebody else could enjoy it. But God bless her, you know. See what your expectations can get you into. They can bring you into great disappointment, can't they? So while I'm a minister, I'm reading this magazine. I'm reading these series of books called The Life and Teachings of the Masters of the Far East. Have you read that? That's a wonderful series. And it talks in this book about the yogis who could walk on fire. And I thought, oh, I'd like to see that. We know how the universe works. Very shortly, this magazine from California came across my desk. It had a half-page ad about a firewalk in Santa Monica, California. Oh my gosh, I wanted to see that. So I had a contract with my church that I could be gone one Sunday a month and to do workshops. So I scheduled workshops all around this date, and I signed up for the firewalk. I'm not going to walk, you understand? I'm just going to go see it. So it was on Sunday evening. Now, Sunday I've worked. I've done the Sunday services in the morning and the workshop in the afternoon, and I'm all dressed up in my Sunday go-to-meeting clothes. You know, my stiletto heels at that time, my designer beautiful suit, gorgeous jewelry. I mean, I look like Miss Thing, you know? And so the firewalk was going to be up in the Topanga Canyon. The California people don't understand what that is. It was going to be at a Presbyterian camp. And so, have you ever gone anywhere where you were just totally and completely not wearing the right clothes? Man, I felt so, I mean, everybody there had on cutoffs and tie-dyes and an interesting aroma in the air. But I want to see this thing, so I'm going to be, well, there are two other people that look kind of like me, and I went over and stood by them, you know how birds of a feather. One of them was Orson Bean. Some of you may remember him from a TV years ago. And there was also a movie star, sort of a grade B actress from France named Corinne Calvet. Well, the three of us stood over being very, very judgmental. Before I got as holy as I am now. So we go into the workshop, and the teacher is just one of the most vulgar, irreverent, boring speakers I've ever heard in my life. I mean, he's since become a good friend of mine, but that my first judgment was, oh my God. And he would tell Zen stories, you know, one hand clapping. What does that mean? Tell me how to walk on fire. He never told us. You know, all of a sudden he says, time to go outside. Oh my gosh, I had to go in the bathroom, take off my pantyhose, and stick my feet in my stiletto heels and walk out in the sand, you know, to this firewalk site. They had already raked it out into a runway for us. And man, when I saw that fire, I thought, holy crap. I mean, oh my God, these people are nuts. They're not going to walk on. Somebody call the hospital. No, we're not going to be doing this. And they tamped it all down. And the leader pointed to one woman, and she was in training to be a firewalk instructor. And she held out her arms and walk across that hot fire. And as soon as I saw her do that, I knew I could do it. I could hardly wait. I was going around the circle. I'm pushing people ahead of me. And I was not nearly as graceful as she was, but when I walked that fire for the very first time, I experienced more power in my body than I have ever felt in my life. Because the firewalk for me at that time was about doing impossible things. Doing the things that seem to violate physical law. Obviously they don't, because hundreds of thousands of people have walked on fire. But it was a profoundly, deeply touching thing for me. So I decided then that I would like to be a firewalk instructor, but I came back home and I was doing retreats. I had a retreat over at Huntsville very shortly after that at the state park. And I called the leader and said, I want you to come do a firewalk for us. He said, no, I'm way too busy, but I'll recommend someone. So he recommended a Cherokee medicine woman by the name of Parisha. Now, she came down, and for about 6 months, about 6 years, she led firewalks for us. And she had this beautiful white leather fringy thing she wore, and she was just really very, very powerful when she led those firewalks. And so I began to apprentice with her. And so toward the end of the time that I worked with her, she said to me, Edwene, the next time that I come, I want you to be able to tell me very clearly what is your greatest fear. There's that fear thing again. Oh, man. So I respected her. If you respect your teacher, you do what they say. So I'm spending this next 6 months really examining. I had a lot of fears, man. I don't want to jump out of an airplane, and spiders, I don't care for those too much, and snakes, and, you know, there's a lot of things I fear. And so I really pondered it. So she came back, and now we're in the evening It's my retreat, but she is leading the firewalk part. So there's about maybe 70 people there, and I'm over the side. I'm her gopher. I'm getting her water, handing out her handouts if she needs anything, getting her music for her. And she's just talking. She's being very spectacular and such a show woman and really, really doing a good job. And all of a sudden she stops, and she turns to me. She's, "Oh, Edwene, I almost forgot. What is your greatest fear, dear?" I said, "Could we do this later?" Priscilla, this is the firewalk. Let's just do the firewalk right now, and I'll talk with you later about this. She said, No. She said, "What is your greatest fear?" And I'm still trying to talk her out of it. Finally, she gets the voice. You know the voice? She said, "Edwene, tell us now, what is your greatest fear?" Oh, man. And this may sound silly to some of you, but we all have different fears. At that time, my greatest fear that I thought was my greatest fear was singing in public. I can talk all day long, but, when it comes to carry a tune, that's just not there. I mean, I couldn't tell you the tune to Row, Row, Row Your Boat. It's just missing, And so I said, "Singing in public." She said, "Oh!" She pulled out from her pocket an 8.5 by 11 sheet, single space of a song called "Up Where We Belong." If I were going to be burnt at the stake, there is no way I could have sung that song to any tune the world has ever heard. She says, "Sing it." These are my people out here. I don't want to look bad, That's what I'm thinking. So, but I got, she's my teacher. I got to do this. So, where are we? My throat closed. That snot's coming out my nose. I'm crying. I know it's terrible, like fingernails on a blackboard. And finally, I look up, and I have never in my entire life seen more love looking back at me. It was a turning point for me. I realized I don't have to sing like Claire. Aww. Yeah. But I can talk your leg off if you'll let me. So, and one of the things that happens when we do firewalks here now is every time I have to teach people a chant. And every time I teach them the chant, it has a different tune. Because I don't know what the tune is. But I don't care. My voice is beautiful to me. Do you hear that? So take a deep breath now. So what I know is that when you confront your fears and you move through them, I don't think fear goes away. I think you walk through it. But I'm no longer allowing fear to paralyze me and keep me stuck. One thing that came up for me that scared me was I was diagnosed with a brain aneurysm several years ago. And it was inoperable and incurable. And my son-in-law had taken me to all the great hospitals and neurologists and neurosurgeons in the South. And they all said the same thing. No, there's too many blood vessels going through it. We can't get to it. It was huge. And they showed it to me on the little screen thing. And the last doctor I saw, Dr. Patel in South Carolina, said, "Go home, make a will, get all your affairs in order. Don't even sneeze. That's how fragile you are." Damn. I didn't know that. We found it sort of by accident. I had an allergy to a drug, and they did some MRI and CAT scans, and they found the aneurysm. So I come home, and I do what he said. I got all my affairs in order. My daughter knows where everything is. And when I got that finished, I thought, I don't think I'm afraid to die. I really don't. This has been a good life. Next one's going to be even better. But I'm not through. I still have some stuff to do. So a prayer group I was working with in Atlanta called me, and they said, "Edwene, in prayer this morning, we got that you're supposed to go to Brazil to see this healer, John of God." Well, I didn't want to do that. Because I didn't, I thought, what I thought was he's going to be a psychic surgeon, and he's going to reach in my armpit pit and pull out a chicken liver or something. I didn't want to do that, no. So I read about him on the internet, and finally I just went into prayer and said, "Okay, God, am I supposed to go to Brazil to see this healer, John of God?" And the voice inside me said, "Well, what do you have to lose?" So, nothing. So I went down there. I've never been to Brazil. Let's go. So I went down there and did everything they told me to do. The second day that I saw John of God, he healed me completely of a brain aneurysm. I can't understand it. Can't explain it. I don't understand it at all. It's way beyond anything that I've ever heard of before. But I felt something move in my head, and the aneurysm is gone. I've had the test, the MRI, and the CAT scan. It's not there. Oh, so a few months later, because I was so grateful, I decided to take about 20 people down who needed healing as an act of gratitude. So we get on the plane in Atlanta, and I'm in first class. They're back in the back. And my seat partner turns out to be the senior editor of Oprah magazine. And she writes a story about my healing, takes my picture, and mentions my book in Oprah magazine, and my book sales went through the roof. Thank you, God. This is it, the 4 spiritual laws of prosperity. It had done very well in church circles, but I wanted it in the public market, and she got it there for me. It's an amazing thing. I believe, that's my personal belief system, that you can have anything that you really want, but you have to do your part. You have to come into alignment with certain spiritual rules. One of them was really tested on me because when I went back to John of God, I just wanted to observe what he was doing. And they have a piece of equipment there. I bought one. It's in there now. It's called a crystal bath. And you lay down on a cot, and crystals are lined up over your chakras, and colored light shine through them. And I wanted to buy one, so you have to go and ask John of God through the entities if you can. I got permission to be trained how to use it, and to train people to use it here at the retreat center. And for some reason, it's a very powerful healing tool, and I don't know what it does. He told us don't say what it does because we don't know. So I bought my crystal bath, and it was very expensive. And while I was there, I got an email from my girlfriend in Canada who bought one the year before. And she said, Edwene, when you head back to the States, you go through customs, do not tell them how much you paid for that thing because they will charge you an arm and a leg. I thought, I'm buying a piece of spiritual equipment to come to a spiritual retreat, to serve as a healing entity for people, and I'm going to lie about it? But it does cost a lot of money. And so then, while I was there, people from the U.S. who had crystal baths, they also came and told me the same thing. Don't tell them how much you paid, but customs will just eat you up. So I'm a being of integrity. I'm just going to do this right, okay? So I get on the plane, they give you the customs form, and I'm filling it out. Now, I didn't know what to call it, but I finally figured out it's got bulbs in it, and you plug it in. So I'm going to call it a lamp. So I call it a lamp. A lamp costs $7,000. For 4. And I thought, the ego in me said, the government has no business getting in my business. And I don't know. They don't have to know how much I pay for this. And finally, I can't do that. So I wrote $7,000. Okay. So we arrive in Atlanta. Now, there's about 500 people in front of us and about 500 people in back of us. And we go through the line, and the first guy, you pass through passport control first. He looks at my customs form. He says, my God, you paid $7,000 for a lamp? I said, yes, sir. He said, must be some lamp. You'll have to go through customs over there. So I go over to customs. Now, listen, folks. Of all those 500 people in front of me, I'm the only one in customs. I'm just saying, okay? I'm just saying. And all these customs agents are lined up in these little booths, and I'm the only one, so they all pounce on me, and they see my form, and they all say, almost in unison, you paid $7,000 for a lamp? I said, yes, I did. He said, well, you sit here. We got to go figure this out. Man, I'm thinking they're going to take my dog, they're going to take my car. And so they huddle like a little football team. And then one of them comes back over, he says, where'd you buy this lamp? I said, I bought it in Brazil. He said, okay, I'll be right back. Oh, Jesus, I'm dying here. And so he comes back, he says, was that lamp made in Brazil? I said, yes, sir, it was made in Brazil. Okay, be right back. And they huddle some more. Man, I am sweating bullets now. And finally, he comes back over, he says, well, we have a new regulation. The United States government has passed a regulation where if something is made in Brazil and purchased in Brazil, we don't charge duty on it anymore. Have a good day. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. So, in the goal setting process that I teach people to be very, very specific. The more specific you are, the quicker you'll have your demonstration. So you don't say, I want to go on vacation. You say where you want to go, what you want to see, how you want to travel, like that. You don't say, I want a new car. You say the make, the model, the color, the interior, all the details that are important to you. So I give them a little gold sheet at the workshop, and after the workshop was over, I got home. A lady called me crying. She said, oh, Edwene, I couldn't wait. I did it wrong. I was at the workshop, and I wrote down on my gold sheet, I want more love in my life. And I got home. My neighbor brought me over a pregnant dog. I'm pretty sure that's not what she had in mind. So you see, when you're too vague about what you want, most people treat their catalog order store better than they treat God. Can you imagine calling up Amazon or Neiman Marcus or J.C. Penney's and saying, hey, would y'all just send me something you think I'd like? Well, the computers would go nuts. When you order from a catalog store, you have to tell them the size, the page, the fabric, the number, the color, all sorts of specific details. And yet we dare to go to God with these airy-fairy ideas and wonder why we get airy-fairy results. Along the pathway, though, I've noticed that my ego sometimes gets in the way. And I know that the God that I believe in and that I feel that I have a connection with does her best to keep me humble. One of the most interesting things I think that ever happened to me is I was speaking at a very large church in Detroit. There's about 3,000 people there. And I was looking so good. Man, I had a new yellow dress, and I was just swinging around the stage and doing my thing. And I was just, I was so proud of myself. And so we took a little break, and this was a big enough church where it was televised, and it was also on YouTube, and it went all over the world simultaneously at the same time that I'm speaking. So there was a little time for a break, and so I learned how to be invisible and to go through a crowd without anybody talking to me, so I could go to the bathroom and come back. So I get back and I walk up on the stage, and they turn the lights on, and I'm getting ready to start, and a woman runs up on the stage, and she pulls the back of my dress out of my pantyhose. And I don't have any underwear on. God will keep you humble, yeah? When you show your ass before the whole world, man, it'll keep you humble. So one of the ways that reading has gotten me in trouble, I've read so many things that once I read them, I want to go do them. And so I read this book called Shape-Shifting, which is about changing physical form. You know how the shamans might turn, into a deer or a snake or something, and I thought that was so interesting, and I wanted to know more about that. So I called the author, and he answered the phone. And I said, I want to know more about this. How can I know more about this? He said, well, I'm getting ready to go to Ecuador to visit with a shaman. Come go with us. We're having a group go. Sign me up. I'm going. So it was a 10-day trip, and all we could take was a backpack for 10 days. My hot rollers took up half of the backpack. Oh, my God. Then we got in the rainforest, and I couldn't plug them in anyway, so had to wash my hair in the river. I ran around looking like the Book of Revelation. So we land in Quito, Ecuador, and the first thing we do, he boards us on a little coach, and we go out to this little village. We haven't got to the rainforest yet. We go to this little village called Otavalo, and we're going to meet with 3 shamans, a grandfather and his 2 grown sons. And so we arrive, and this shaman, I'm telling you, the minute I saw them, I knew that I had known them somewhere before. If you had that feeling, it was like deja vu. It was like, these are like brothers or cousins, and I just instantly fell in love with all three of them, and they look like shaman ought to look. You know, they had these beautiful little kind of cape things on, and they had little doodads hanging from them, plants and stuff, and oh my God, they had these big colored feather hats, and I am thrilled to be there. I mean, I cannot believe I've given myself this gift. And so we go in the house, and we sit on the floor, and they sit up at the front, and they talk to us for maybe 45 minutes, an hour, about, you know, the healing herbs that they use and what shape-shifting meant and how they use that in their healing practices. And I'm so excited to be there. And the evening wound down, and so I'm gathering my stuff off the floor and put it back in my tote bag. And they don't speak any English. They speak Quechua. So they have an interpreter. And so one of the oldest of the shaman leans over and whispers to the interpreter, and the interpreter announces to the group, the shaman would like to offer any of you who would like it a healing. Boom, my hand shoots up. I don't know what I need to be healed of, but I didn't come to miss anything. Give me one of these. I'm excited. Here I am in Ecuador with 3 shamans getting ready to have a genuine, authentic, shamanic healing. Hot damn, I can hardly wait. Ooh, I'm so excited. So they take us all over to what they call their little healing room. Now, this room has a dirt floor and interesting animal smells going on in this room. So we're sitting back at the back of the room on these big logs that they use as benches, and they're up front, a little card table, and the room's pretty big, and I'm wondering why they're so far up. Well, what happens? They invite in their families. They invite in the neighbors, the grandparents, the kids. The whole village fills the room. In come the dogs and the cats and the pigs and the chickens and the goats. Well, I'm getting nervous now. I don't know what this is going to be. But I look over my shoulder, and right there behind me on the wall is a little tiny picture of Jesus. I said, okay, we're cool. It's going to be fine. I'm cool. So the interpreter says, who's first? Boom. Raise my hand up, and I run up to the front to be first. I'm so thrilled to be here, and I love these men, and I can tell that they love me too, and they're going to be gentle with me, and whatever needs healing, they're going to heal. And I'm looking at them with such love. And the oldest leans over and whispers to the interpreter, and the interpreter leans over and whispers to me, they want you to take all your clothes off. Oh my God, no. Oh my God, no. Oh no. No, we don't do this sort of thing in Alabama. No. Oh my gosh, no. I can't do this. No, I'm just paralyzed. I'm crying, and again, snot's coming out my nose, and I can't believe I've got myself in this situation. And how can I get out of this without making a complete ass out of myself? And oh my God! Finally, I remembered to pray, and I turned within. And I said, "Help!" And that little inner voice says, "Edwene, this is what you came for." No. Is there anybody else in there? Now, I want you to get the picture here. I'm in my 60s at this time. And all the women on our little 16-person group are about 30 years old, and they all look like Miss America. And here I am. None of the body parts in the original starting position. So I stood there, and I took my clothes off, naked as a jaybird. And those shamans gave me a healing that lasted 1.5 hours. They beat me with these little sacred stones they call their healing stones. They whipped my body all over with stinging nettles. They spit on me. They breathed fire out of their mouths to surround and envelop my body. And I was transfixed. The time passed so quickly. And when they were through, I was healed of eons of body shame.
All right.
Of never ever having the kind of body that the women in the fashion magazines have. It was amazing, amazing. And what was even funnier to me is as soon as I sat down, all the guys got up and they wanted to all take their clothes off.